So hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how you can create this type of hair simulation in Blender. So the first thing you have to do is you have to import your character into Blender, and then you have to just select your face mesh and you have to go to your edit mode. And what you have to do, I will just hide this thing. You have to go to your front mode or any other mode, and you have to separate your head mesh. Like, you have to just select this like this and make sure that you enable your X-ray mode, or else what it does, it will not select the back part of the mesh. So you have to make sure that you select the X-ray mode, and then you have to select your head, and then you have to just select like this and try to make a scalp like this. So I'm not gonna go that much detail, but I will show you how I make my mesh. So you can see you have to separate your mesh like this, and it looks something like that. So you have to separate your mesh like this. You can see this is a separate mesh. And after this, what you have to do, you have to enable the particle system. So you have to just go to your particle system, and then you have to just add a particle system. I already add a particle system in my this one, so I will just show you the setting what you have to do to get a proper simulation, and I will try to solve the problems that you will face during the simulation part. So first thing you have to do is you have to create the hairs. So if I make another one, if I just create another one, so you can see now it is showing some kind of weird this, because you have to go to your hair section, and now you can see the hairs are there. And the first thing you have to do, you have to just go to this one and you have to decrease the length. I will make it 0.2, so decrease the length of the hair. And then you have to go to this one, and there is a particle edit mode. So this is for to comb your hair. So if I go to the front view and if I comb this thing, so right now it is deleting. You have to make sure that you are in the comb mode, and then you can comb your hair like this. And you have to make sure that you comb your hair properly. Make sure that your hairs are not intersecting with the main mesh, like this body mesh, or else it will create some kind of problems in the simulation. So just try to do whatever you want to do. So I will just leave this thing like that for now, and make sure that you are in X-ray mode, or it will not comb this side of the hairs, you see. So you have to make sure that you are in the X-ray mode, and then you comb. So what it does, it will comb that side of the hair also, and you don't need to comb separately. So you see, and you can do this thing like that also. Sometimes there are few hairs that left like this, so you have to just comb it like this. Okay, go to the top view like that. So just comb this thing like that. And so for now I will just leave this thing like that. You can create any kind of look, whatever you want to do. You can cut your hairs from this area. There is a cut option also, so it helps to cut your hair like this. You can see it is cutting my hair. And there is a puff option. It will help to puff the hairs, like give some volume stuff. And there is a length one, so the length one helps to create length. You see now it is giving the length, and I will just cut this thing right now. So yeah, you can try these things. And after that, what you have to do, so when you change these settings, now you will see like your emission, these things are grayed out, because now you can't edit these things when you edit something in your hair, like cut or lengthen or anything. So you have to make sure that you set this thing properly. So in my case, I use 1000, and the segments you have to use is 30, because the more segment you have, the more bending you will get. Like right now you will see it is bending like straight, but if you're having more segment, it will bend smoothly. So that's the advantage of having more segments. So make it like 30, or do not go more than 30. Just make this thing 30 if you're having a long hair. So this is my particle system. I will show you the settings what you need to change. So these are the settings. You can see you have to just copy these things. There is, sorry, this one, yeah, you have to you can copy this thing. So my segments are 30, the numbers of hairs are 1000, and the hair length is 0.007. So after that, you have to make sure that you enable hair dynamics, and in the hair dynamics you have to increase this quality step to 80. I'm not recommending to use 80, but I will give the reason why I use 80 at the end of this tutorial. So you have to just make sure that you start with 20, something like that. Yeah, just leave that thing 20. And there is a collision step. You can make this thing 15, Why I go 30 I will tell you at the end. And this, make sure that your distance is 0.001. Then in the structure, make sure that it is 0.1, and in the damping value it is 0.5, and the stiffness there it is 0.1, and random is 0. So you have to make sure that you copy these settings, or else it will create some kind of problem with your simulation. And there is a path option. So you have to enable the B spline, and you have to make this step 6. So the B spline helps you to create more smooth here. So just make this thing 6, and you have to go down. There is a viewport render display, and you can turn off this show emitter. It will just hide your scalp. So the scalp you created, that the mesh you separated from your face, it just hide that mesh. So you have to just disable this thing, so it will hide the mesh of your. Then there is a main settings called children, and in the children you have to make sure you are in the interpolated mode. So you can set your render amount to 200 and your display amount 10. So in display amount, if you increase this thing, it will make your PC laggy. So in the viewport it is 10. If I make this thing 200, you can see my hair density will increase, you see. So the hair density will increase, but it will create more lag in your viewport. So make sure that you are in the lower 10 or 20, so you can preview your simulation in real time. And in the render, you can render all your 200 particles. So you have to leave this thing like that, and you have to enable this clamping. Do not enable this thing, you can just make this thing 1. So the clamping helps to create this type of sharp edge at the end. So if I decrease the clamping, you see it is make this thing like separated, and if I increase this thing, you see it is create that type of sharpness. So it looks like a little bit anime type. So I like that type of effects. So you can use this thing, it depends on you. And the other thing, you don't have to change anything. And there is a field weight. If you want to use any kind of effects like force field or any kind of wind effect, you can use. So you have to just make sure that all your wind effects and your force fields are in a same folder. Like create a separate folder for your like collection for your fields, force field, and then you can assign that collection to this one. So it will be easier for the particle system to understand how many effectors, not effectors, yes, effectors and the wind effects are there to affect your hair. So you have to make sure that you make a separate collection of that. And the other thing are not that much important. There is a roughness also. You can change the settings to get a specific look of your hair. So if you just increase this thing, you see my roughness increase, and it's make the hair curlier. And if I decrease this thing to 0, it makes the hair smoother like this. So you can change the settings however you want to make your hair looks like. And the other thing you can do is, I think everything is good. Make sure that your hair are separated properly. You see my hairs are like quite separated from the mesh. There is no hair is intersecting with the body or anything. So you have to make sure that. And yeah, after everything, you have to just go up, and there is a cache section. So I will recommend you to just start with 0 to 10 or 50 frames. Don't try to simulate everything at the first try, because you will have some kind of issues. So just type end frame like 50 or 25, something like that, and then just click on bake. There you will see a bake option. You have to click on that, and it will bake your simulation. So right now you can see it is, I already baked my simulation, so it is properly doing the stuff. But in your case it may be like different. You will get some kind of issues with this things. So if you are doing any kind of simulation in Blender, then you have to be very lucky, not very lucky, like you have to be lucky. So this is I think very useless tip that I will give you, but yeah, that's the case. If you're using any kind of simulation in Blender, like fluid simulation or cloth or hair or anything, so you have to be a little bit luckier, because if you are getting a perfect simulation in all type of settings in this one for 5 days, 5 to 6 days, and then I got this type of effect like hair simulation. So it is not like that you will get the perfect simulation in just one click. You have to just hit and trial what type of value suits for your animation or your simulation. So yeah, that's the thing, you have to hit and trial these things. But for most of the cases, the settings that I show it will work perfectly fine with any kind of simulation. So now I will tell the reason why I use 80 quality steps and collision quality 30. This is too much for a hair simulation. It took me like 3 hours to bake the whole frames, like 400 frames, but it is too much. So I try a lot of stuff, like with 20, 30 and all type of values. The value that works for me is this 80 and 30. So the hair dynamics value collision quality does like how your hair will interact, not interact, like how it behave when it start the simulation. Okay, so in my case there is a lot of backflip in my animation, you can see. So you have to keep this thing in your mind that like if you're having a very complex simulation or any kind of very complex movement in your character, then you have to increase this thing to like 50, more than 50, or else it will not gonna work well, because there is not enough information to get a proper simulation. So you have to make sure that you increase your quality step like 50. If you're having a simple walking animation or any kind of simple things, then you can decrease this thing to 20. But for complex animations like this or anything else, you need more samples, because it will just create weird things. It will collide with your mesh and it will all create all type of issues. So yeah, that's the reason for this 80. And the collision one is also the same. The more movement you have, like this type of movement, the chances are more like your hair will collide with your mesh and it will intersect with your mesh very easily. So I have to make sure that I give more quality samples so it create a good looking simulation. So that's the reason. And the last thing, you have to make sure that you apply a, so if I click on my head mesh and if I go to frame 1, so you have to select your mesh and then you will see a collision tab. You have to add a collision and you will see something like this. Okay, so you have to copy these settings. So damping will be 1, inner 0.003, friction 0, and field absorption 1. So you have to give this collision, or else what will happen, intersect with your mesh very easily. So to avoid the intersection, you have to add this collision also in this face mesh. And do not try to add this thing on your scalp, just add this thing to your face mesh. And if your hairs are like longer than this one, like it is touching your body also, so you have to give another collision to your body also. So for my case it was not that longer, so I can just leave this thing like that. So after this you have to just go to your hair simulation and you have to do hit and trial. So try to bake with 20 samples first and then 15, something like that. If you are getting desirable, if you are getting good results, then you can leave that thing like that, or you have to just increase your quality steps to get a proper simulation. Okay, and I already made a tutorial on how you can export this hair simulation into Unreal Engine 5, proper detail, and how you can export your MetaHuman character into Blender very easily. I explain everything on that tutorial. You can watch that thing. And yeah, that's it for this one. Thank you for watching.